Hello, thank you for joining me on your channel of choice at this time. And this is your number one program talking about Code Files, a program where we take a look at overview of unresolved cases, numerous cases in the Nigerian judiciary, of course, the African judiciary as well. This is where we bring up issues around the delay in dispensation of justice, prolonged cases in courts, and of course in Nigerian and African judiciaries. My name is Charles Agedu, and I'm your host on this show. I'll just take a pause here and to give you a short prologue of what I'll be talking about on the program today. When I get back from that prologue, of course, I'll be introducing my guests to you to take a review, an overview of the prolonged one of the prolonged trials in the Nigerian judiciary. Please don't go away. I'll be back shortly.
Over the years, several high-profile corruption cases in Nigeria have been abandoned or stalled, raising concerns about the effectiveness of anti-corruption efforts. Some of the most notable examples include the Halliburton bribery scandal, the Siemens bribery case, and various cases involving high-ranking government officials and former governors. These cases often involve allegations of bribery, embezzlement, and abuse of office, highlighting systemic issues within Nigeria's political and economic landscape. The above concerns necessitated the need for questions about the integrity and fairness of the anti-corruption fight in Nigeria. Hence, the role of the media to collaborate in the crusade cannot be overemphasized. Welcome to the maiden edition of the program
Code Files.
Each episode focuses critically on numerous unresolved cases in the Nigerian and African judiciaries. It also does an overview of unresolved cases, their respective prosecuting agencies or institutions, accused persons, the state or level of trial, as well as how, why, and when such cases were last heard. Focus is also beamed on issues around delay in dispensation of justice and abandoned cases. On the program today, we will be examining the prolonged trial of the former National Security Advisor to former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki. Dasuki was first arraigned on December 14, 2015, before Justice Baba Yusuf, alongside a former Director of Finance and Administration in the Office of the National Security Advisor, Shuaibu Salihu, on a 19-count charge linked to an alleged 15.5 billion naira fraud. The charges were later amended and Salihu's name was removed. Subsequently, Dasuki and others were rearraigned on May 11, 2018 on a fresh 32-count charge involving 33.2 billion naira. However, the trial was stalled after the prosecution presented only one witness, the investigating officer, who was yet to conclude his testimony before the case was indefinitely adjourned. The EFCC had also filed another case against Dasuki in 2015, in which he was charged alongside a former Minister of State for Finance, Bashir Yoguda, a former Sokoto State Governor, Achahiru Bafarawa, his son, Segiu Bafarawa, and his company, Dahatu Investment Limited. They faced a 25-count charge bordering on criminal breach of trust and misappropriation of 19.4 billion. Both trials suffered multiple delays due to the refusal of the Department of State Services to release Dasuki on bail despite court orders granting him bail. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Thursday, March 25, 2025, rearranged former National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki, before Justice Charles Agbaza of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Abuja, for fraud. He was rearranged alongside a former general manager of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Aminu Baba Kusa, Acacia Holdings Limited, and Reliance Referral Hospital Limited. They are being prosecuted on a 32-count charge bordering on breach of trust and dishonesty to the tune of 33.2 billion naira. That is 33 billion 200 million naira.
This is Third Eye Africa TV, your #1 crime watch television, talking about our mandate to ensure that we have a safe environment in our country, community safety, investigative reporting, and of course, that is what we do here at Crime TV, which is Third Eye Africa TV. This is the show Code Files. If you had joined from the beginning and watch it from the prologue of this very edition, you will understand that today we'll be talking about one of the numerous unresolved cases in the country, talking about corruption cases, crime cases, and this is the program Unresolved, where we bring up cases that have been kept prolonging in the court for a very long time. Of course, this is the maiden edition of the show, and I'm not here alone today. My name, of course, is Charles Agedo, and with me in the studio, I have Barrister Ugochukwu P. Isiguzo. You're welcome to the show,
Thank
Barrister.
you very much. Good to have me again.
Yes, and if you watched the program from my prologue before we began this interview session in the studio, you will understand that a lot have been said about the, I wouldn't want to use the word over prolonged, but prolonged for a very long time, since how many years back now? Since 2015, if I'm correct. Sambo Dasuki's trial. I want to ask you, what's your take about the this case involving the former National Security Advisor Colonel Sambo Dasuki?
When this case started in 2015, the first thing that came to my mind, and that has been of very serious importance to me, is for public office holders to understand that the occupation of public office is nothing but temporary. You cannot be in any public office all through your life, especially and as far as there is a democracy. Even during the days of military dictatorship, people came into public office and also left. So the case of the NSA that has been on since 2015 should teach any person who is sitting in public office today that you may be sitting in public office today, you may not be there forever. And you must also check what you are doing while sitting on that public office. You cannot tell yourself that because you are sitting on that public office or carrying out such public assignments, and you think you can do anything you want to do, and you can just behave in any manner, break laws, discard realities, treat issues and matters that concern citizens as if they are very, very frivolous, or as if they are not serious things. Because if you are not conscious of these facts, at the end of the day, you will be at the point where you have to take a lot of decisions that are against the law, decisions that are not in the best interest of the country, decisions that will, at the end of the day, drag your name out for something negative. I am not saying in essence that the former NSA is guilty of whatsoever he has been accused of. But the point is that he just left office and he was called to answer to charges in 2015, which you have rightly said has remained unresolved and has been prolonged till date. From your prologue, it's very clear that he has been rearranged again this year before another judge at the FCT High Court. So this case also is a case that calls to mind the issues of corruption and decision making, especially when it has to do with finance. If the former NSA is guilty or not will be decided by the court. But it is one of those cases that should make everybody know that certainly if you take certain financial decisions, you will be called upon one day to answer for them, especially if those financial decisions are not clear or if there are no indications that there was authoritative basis for them. The whole story around the NSA's charge has to do with monies that were recovered from corruption, if I put it like that, monies that were released to his office for the purpose of dealing with the insecurity issues that were bedeviling Nigeria during the Goodluck Jonathan tenure, and that these monies were redirected into other political decisions such as party primaries, elections, and the rest. If in truth these are actually what played out in the period he was the NSA, the courts will have to find out whether he is guilty or not.
Okay, that's a good one there. But I want to ask you, how do you see the role of the prosecuting agencies of government in the matter? Talking about the EFCC and the DSS.
The EFCC and the DSS. Let me start by saying that when Dasuki's case started, there was so much heat around it. Okay. And I will say that was due to the way the DSS and the EFCC conducted themselves throughout this matter. In fact, in all honesty, Dasuki's case revealed some sort of lacuna in terms of our criminal justice system. Okay. You will recall that Dasuki was granted bail, and just before he left the court premises, he was rearrested.
Okay.
There was a seeming avowment by the government of the day as at that time to make sure that Dasuki was under detention.
Okay.
The way the government through those agencies conducted the matter as at that time it started looked more or less like pursuing personal vendetta, okay, and not actually about legal retribution for corruption. Now, if you look at the conduct of the agencies as at that time, there was this very interesting legal argument that came up, okay, that someone can be rearrested even when you are facing a trial for other charges.
Rearrested for another offense or
yes,
the same
for
offense?
Another offense.
Okay.
So that was a very interesting argument as at that time.
Okay.
That they needed to rearrest him because he was being investigated for other matters that had to do with corruption.
Okay.
They had investigated this one, so they brought him to court for this one, and that court granting him bail was basically for this charge. They needed to rearrest him to continue investigation on other matters.
Okay, so which means the first prosecuting agency brought him before the court, then another agency came for another offense and arrested him. That was what brought about.
That was the argument and the story.
Okay.
That was being presented as at that time.
Okay.
Because what we are looking at here is the role of these agencies,
absolutely,
in prosecuting this particular matter.
Yes.
So the point is that the agencies must not, or government agencies who are involved in prosecution, must not conduct themselves in a manner that seems to present a case as if it is personal vendetta.
Absolutely.
Because when you are pursuing a case from that angle, as if it is personal vendetta, unnecessary emotions will be raised, whip up sentiments, and even pity, yeah, that ought not to even exist. Okay. Because of course, the Nigerian society is a very, very emotional one. I keep on saying it. We are very emotional. Once any sort of little sentiment is just brought up, people begin to react based on those sentiments. People at that time did not even see if there were actually basis for these charges or this arrest. All they were looking at was, how will this man just be arrested and granted bail, and he's coming out and you are rearresting him again?
Yeah.
Now, so on the other hand, the role of these agencies have been towards prosecuting this matter. But like you rightly mentioned earlier, it has stayed too long. It's interesting that President Muhammadu Buhari, who gave direct instructions for this investigation and for his prosecution, has finished his tenure. Mm-hmm. And the matter is still in court. So for 8 solid years, former NSA Sambo Dasuki could not be prosecuted at the High Court. We have not gone to the Court of Appeal. We have not gotten to the Supreme Court. For 8 solid years. It's worrisome that for 8 solid years, now we have not even counted the 2 years plus of the present administration. So for 8 solid years, the agencies could not successfully prosecute Sambo Dasuki to a logical conclusion. Of course, there are a lot of issues around it, but it also tells you how serious these agencies are with respect to this prosecution.
Okay, so what do you think is responsible for the numerous prolonged trial cases in court?
Well, the reality is that there are a lot of issues in our judicial system that has led to cases being prolonged. Let me start by saying this. Let me just be a little bit fair.
Okay.
By saying that 60% of cases, or let me say, the fact that cases are being prolonged in our courts are caused by basically the legal practitioners.
Okay.
60% of these delays are caused by legal practitioners.
Okay.
Not by judges.
Okay.
No, but by the legal practitioners. You see, we are in a judicial system where legal practitioners, take for example, a legal practitioner will bring up a case through a wrong form. He is aware that there are rules,
okay,
for this case to start.
Okay.
He's fully aware. But he is not going to comply with those rules. He will come through the wrong form, and when the other lawyer or the other his colleague raises an issue that the form with which you have commenced this matter is wrong, he begins to argue about it. Instead of him to withdraw and comply, he will begin to raise unnecessary arguments about it. And the judge is sitting down there helplessly. The judge will even, in some cases, give some sort of green light to say, look, this your form is wrong. But in some situations, these practitioners keep arguing that the form is right. When the judge finally gives a decision that the form is wrong, the person will not comply. The person will go to the Court of Appeal. We have not gotten into the merit of the case. We are still talking about the form.
Whether form is right or wrong.
I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah.
The Court of Appeal will give the decision. The person will not comply. You will get to the Supreme Court. By the time the Supreme Court finally gives a decision as to whether the form is correct or not, in some cases, the Supreme Court will say, okay, let's invoke our power and hear the case in its real form, which hardly happens because the kind of work that is on the Supreme Court is so much. They may not have the time to invoke such powers. Okay. They may have to send it back to the High Court. That's when the High Court, if the court finds okay that the form was actually right, the High Court will now start. But if, for example, the Supreme Court finds out that the form was wrong, the person will now have to reinitiate that suit. And then you hear somebody say, so legal practitioners are contributing 60% to the delays. It's a very serious issue. When you come into what is happening, you come into the criminal process, for example, you see a prosecutor will commence a charge with a lot of defects.
Okay.
Or commence a charge against a defendant without solid evidence. And then when it's now time to produce his evidence, he begins to dilly-dally, you know. So one of the major causes for delays in our courts are legal practitioners. The rules will say file a matter within 2 weeks, and a legal practitioner will take a month to do it. Sometimes there are other factors that will even cause the legal practitioner to take longer time. That is the truth.
Okay.
There are other factors which I'll touch on.
Okay.
Now, the second aspect is the attitude of some of these judicial officers. When you are on a job and you like what you do, you will give it your all and your best.
Absolutely.
So there are some of these judicial officers that do not really give it the sort of attention that most of these cases deserve. You may go to a court for a matter and a court will not sit repeatedly. You come for a matter in the morning and the court clerk will just tell you, unfortunately the court cannot sit. My lord has been sent on an official duty by the chief judge. I'm just telling you what happens at the high court.
Okay.
And the judge is not available. And what happens? The matter has to be adjourned off record.
Okay,
because
so
the judge is not available.
Could that be as a result of the judge not just being available, or it was just an arrangement by the judicial officer?
No, it's the judge. The judicial officer is the judge.
Okay, I understand you now.
So the judge is not available. Prosecution or cases in court is like cases in court are like this local pot that is used to cook.
Okay, I was thinking you were referring to the clerk.
Those ones have their rules they play.
Okay.
But I'm coming to them.
Okay.
But you see, judicial officers also play their own role in delaying these cases.
Okay.
Some of them, like I've said, will not be available in court to hear matters and to give decisions. There are a lot of times these things happen.
So, but are they not obligated to do so?
They're obligated to do so, but they're also human beings. There are a lot of things that can play in. There are cases where some of these judges will fall sick without plan. The point I'm making is that prosecution is like a three-legged pot.
Okay.
If you miss one, the pot will not stand.
Absolutely.
And the judge is the most important leg.
Yes.
So if the judge is not around, there will be no hearing. So there are even cases where a matter will come up before a judge 3 to 4 times. The judge is not available to hear the matter. So these things drag cases. But this is not the real issue. The absence of this judge is not the real issue, but it contributes. That is just one aspect of it. There are even aspects where, a matter has been decided, a matter is to be decided, but it takes the judge longer than expected time to give his decision. A decision that should be a bench ruling, a date will be given, and you will come on that date. The judge will tell you, I'm not available, the judgment or the ruling is not ready. You come another day, the same story. And I have done a case where till today judgment has not been delivered. So there are cases like that, and cases are being prolonged on that basis. There is also the role of judicial staff.
Yes, that is where I wanted to.
Yes, there is also the role of judicial staff.
That was what I was mistaking for the point you made earlier.
Judicial officers are the judges.
Yes, I understand.
But these court clerks
and
the
judicial staff.
Yes, they are the people who aid the judges in doing their work efficiently. Sometimes they frustrate the judges.
Okay.
Sometimes they put a clog in the wheel. Sometimes they make it difficult. For example, a judge is seated already to hear matters, and a case is called, and only for the judge to be told the file is not available. How? Why would the file not be available? And the judge will have to adjourn that matter because the file is not available. The court will have to adjourn the matter. In some other cases, you apply for some, my brother, it's a very big web. I've been to the Court of Appeal. The judges were available. The matter was ready. Everything was done. But because the bailiff did not serve the hearing notice for the matter to proceed, the judges have no choice but to adjourn the matter. But what is most worrisome is that most times when these things happen, nobody is held responsible.
That is where I was coming to. Are there no punishments for, people who have failed to, deliver on their roles, responsibilities?
when it comes to
that is the challenge.
Okay.
And I would not know why some of these things continue. But in recent times, let me just say the Court of Appeal in Abuja has seemed to have made a lot of progress in dealing with some of these things. Okay. But these were issues. If you go to the Court of Appeal or some of these courts, you will go through a lot to get a date. Of course, the workload is so much on this court. There are so much appeals to be decided. So you need to go through so much. There are frivolous appeals that are even left for these judges to decide. And it weighs them down. You know, that's why I talk about legal practitioners. But I always say that justice is justice. If a man is not satisfied, the law has said he can go forward to satisfy his curiosity. Yeah. And that is a right, a constitutional right that has been given to every citizen of Nigeria who has gone to court to complain. Okay. So there are a lot of issues. Did you come back to this issue of judicial staff? There is also the issue of corruption. You say you are not going to comply, you are not going to give some sort of money, and certain things the judicial officer ought to do, he will not do it simply because money has not been offered. Yeah. And you know it's a challenge. Another aspect of it is even the working machineries. You go to some courts, even in Abuja here, especially the district courts, they don't have computers. So you apply for a record of proceeding, the judge, the staff has to take the record to a business center.
And expect you, of course, to fund that.
Of course.
Yeah. Because what is supposed to be the responsibility of an institution, because of lack of the facility they need to do their job, then it becomes now your responsibility to fund that process.
And in the process, most of these business centers may not be so effective.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, what you have is a delay.
Okay. Now, the anti-corruption agencies as well, some of them or most of them have their legal teams. They have their legal departments. What do you think they can do, to also speed up, corruption, trials from their own end?
Yes, there are a lot of roles they have to play. There are a lot of things they have to do. But one of the biggest challenges we have in criminal investigation in Nigeria is there is a very wrong pattern that is even unlawful.
Okay.
What most prosecuting agencies or crime investigating agencies do in Nigeria is that they arrest before investigation.
Okay.
Instead of investigating before arrest. They first of all arrest you. In most situations, they arrest the defendant, hold the person longer than 48 hours as
they start looking for evidence.
And start looking for evidence.
When it should be the other way
around. So, but in recent times, especially when it comes to these corruption cases, these agencies are becoming very matured and open-minded. They don't just go into arrest at first.
They do their underground investigation.
They may not really do their underground investigation. From what I've observed, they will invite you to come and ask you questions and do some preliminary investigations before they want to conduct the arrest. But in recent times, what they are known for is arrest before investigation. And let me tell you what it does. When you do arrest before investigation, you are put in a fix to go to court immediately.
Okay.
Because the constitution says you cannot hold a man beyond 48 hours.
48 hours, yeah.
So if you have arrested the man, and in the process of arresting the man, you are able to get some information from the man, and within 48 hours, there is no conclusion as to your arrest or the information you ought to have. To comply with the law, you have to
quickly file
a charge to arraign the person. Yeah. And when you arraign the person at the end of the day, the person is before the court will grant bail.
Okay.
That is if it's a bailable offense.
Yeah.
The court grants bail. When the court grants bail, the person goes home and begin to frustrate the investigation.
Process. Yeah.
So one thing that will help most of these agencies is to ensure that they have concluded the investigation before they go ahead to arrest and arraign.
Okay. one of the, I'm not holding brief fort for the agencies, but I think one of the challenges they have also faced is that some of them, when they invite for that preliminary questioning before the arrest, at the point of invitation, you see some of these suspects fleeing the country. We've had cases like that. Could that be responsible for why they go ahead to arrest before filing charges?
Of course. That is also one of those factors that may push them to arrest before filing charges. But the point is that even before you arrest, as an agency, you must be sure that you have even before you invite. Let me put it like that. Before you invite, you should be sure that you have certain good information that will enable you have grounds for your invitation. You don't invite a suspect to come and start, giving you information when you ought to have some preliminary information before you invite the suspect, so that on that basis you confront the suspect. You can interrogate. But what we have is a situation where you arrest before, so you are forced to rush to court to arraign in line with the law. And once, as an agency, you have done that, if the court should take the arraignment, because the court doesn't know what you have done, the court does not know what you have asked or the information you have before you came. All the court knows is the charge you have brought. The court will say, okay, I'm adjourning this matter for hearing. And most criminal prosecution in Nigeria are by summary trial. Most courts are by summary trial. There is no pleadings to be exchanged. Once you have been arraigned, the next date, as a matter of practice, in some situations, the court will say, proceed with your hearing if you have your witnesses. But as a matter of practice, the court will say, okay, we are giving you a date to come with your witnesses. And then when you come that day, you begin to give stories. My lord, there are documents we're supposed to get from the bank we have not gotten.
The judge does not want to hear that.
The judge ought not to hear that, but what will the judge do? And these are the things that are causing the delays, for example. So, what we are saying in essence is that for them to improve the work towards fighting this corruption, there are a lot of things they have to look into. I've just mentioned the fact that they should be more detailing in their investigations before arrest and arraignment. Now, they should also try to get solid evidence that will be convincing. It is embarrassing that sometimes, I will give you an example. When Justice Ademola was with the whole Gestapo thing that DSS did and arraigned before the High Court of the FCT for this and that, at the end of the day, the man was discharged on a no-case submission. No case submission. That simply means that you have not presented any evidence, any case. So what was the essence?
And you went ahead and
did all
carried out a sting operation, pulled down the doors and all of that.
Drama around it. And at the end of the day, the judge was discharged on a no case submission. That means you had nothing solid against the judge. Who you dragged a judge, a judicial officer, who was dragged up and down, he was on the face of the news and everything. This is just one of those examples. And that is one of the reasons why you see some of these corruption cases are lagging. There is nothing solid. Nothing solid, because the courts will not do emotions. The courts will not do sentiments. The courts are not interested in what the government is interested in.
They are interested in facts.
The courts is interested in facts and evidence. You cannot come and tell a court that it was in his hands the money was last seen. What was the basis of this charge? And when the time comes, so they should get solid evidence so that before they go ahead to do arraignments and to do prosecution. Now, they should also ensure that their witnesses are available and ready. You come to court a lot of times and these prosecuting agencies tell you stories. The officer who is supposed to testify has been transferred for election monitoring. What? The officer who investigated the matter was in Abuja division. He is now at Enugu division. It is not news. It's not news to you, sorry, that this person has gone to Enugu division. But you have held up to that information up until this time, and you are coming to tell the courts that the man is not available. Our witness is not ready to testify. Do you know in some cases, the witnesses refuse to come? In some criminal trials, the witnesses refuse to come because these witnesses are not ready and willing.
Okay.
So, as a prosecuting agency, you must be willing and ready. I have witnessed a criminal trial. I've witnessed a criminal trial where ICPC was prosecuting some persons for corruption, and the witness who ought to be the star witness turned into a hostile witness there in court. Turned into a hostile witness against the prosecutor. The prosecutor asks him a question, he gives a contrary answer. Did you see this man taking money? I did not see. So you must get witnesses that are ready to testify and that are available and ready to testify. And you are sure of their willingness to say the truth, not the ones that will come to frustrate you. And let me say this also. Investigation is not cheap. Prosecuting agencies must be ready to investigate. Prosecuting agencies must be ready to investigate. Go to all ends to find out what is really the issue. If you need bank statements, not the ones they get through illegal court orders. You write a letter, stay in your office and write a letter to a judge and say block an account. No. Do the necessary things, get the necessary information you need to get, know who and who is involved in whatsoever matters. And finally, let me say this, prosecuting agencies should avoid civil matters. This is one of the things that is making them lose capacity and trust. The courts have been saying it over and over again. These agencies are not debt recovering agents. The EFCC, the ICPC, the police, the DSS, they are not debt recovery agencies. Because what we have is a situation where if you are owing me 100,000 naira, I report
To the DSS.
to the DSS or to the EFCC. And instead of them to tell you to go to court to recover your money, they get into the matter and begin to create unnecessary
Drama
and trumped up charges. And at the end of the day, somebody comes up with a charge, breach of trust. When you get to court, the court finds out that it's just a contract of I owe you money, you are owing me money. And the person is discharged and acquitted because in terms of criminal trial and the ingredients of an offense, the court has not seen it. What the court is seeing here is a situation where there is somebody is owing another person money or a failure in contract. Instead of you to go to court under, say, civil procedure to recover your money and get damages, these agencies dabble into such civil matters, even if matrimonial causes matters. And at the end of the day, they don't have time to do proper investigations on the ones that concern them.
Okay, just hold your thought there, Barrister Ugochukwu. And if you are just joining us, I think you have missed a chunk of this very interesting program, Code 5, on Third Eye Africa TV. And this is our maiden edition of the program. Unresolved is a program that brings up numerous cases in court, unresolved cases, pending cases in courts, cases regarding to corruption and criminal charges that is, that have dragged long and on and on and on without getting to a logical conclusion. And we're going to take a short break quickly right now and come back and do the remaining portion of the program with our guest in the studio. Don't go away, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
I report. Have you ever witnessed a crime or suspicious activity around you? Don't stay silent. Take action. You can now report crimes easily by sending videos to us on I Report. Record a video and a brief narration of the incident with the location and send to 0701 372 8007 on WhatsApp only. Your action could help save a life or stop a crime in progress. Stay alert, stay safe, be the voice, take a stand. I Report, only on Third Eye Africa.
From interlocutory injunctions to prima facie
or ex parte order. This is where we focus critically on numerous unresolved cases in the Nigerian and African judiciaries.
Dasuki's case revealed some sort of lacuna in terms of our criminal justice system. Okay. You will recall that Dasuki was granted bail, and just before he left the court premises, he was rearrested.
One of the laws guiding extradition is that if it is seen or alleged that the essence of repatriation or extradition is for persecution, it will shield those people. There is a circumstance that makes this woman not to be extraditable by Nigeria on the point of intention to persecute rather than prosecute.
My name is Charles Agedu. Join me
on Code Files
for overview of cases, their respective prosecuting agencies, institutions, accused persons, the state or level of trial, as well as how, why, and when such cases were last heard. We also take a look at issues around delay in dispensation of justice.
Code Files, a chronology of unresolved crime cases, only on Third Eye Africa TV.
Welcome back to the show, and this is
Code Files,
a program designed to spotlight special cases, of course, cases that have dragged long on and on in our courts, cases regarding corruption, criminal charges at different levels in our judiciary. And this is Third Eye Africa TV, a station, your number one station when it comes to crime watch, crime prevention, investigative journalism, and of course, community safety. And I've been in the studio in the last 30 minutes with a special focus on the charges involving the former national security advisor in the person of Sambo Dasuki, who was a national security advisor to the former president Goodluck Jonathan. And if you followed from the beginning of the program and from the prologue, you would have gotten an abreast information with as to when this program began, when this trial began in 2015, and 2015 to 2025. That's 5 years, 10 years down the line. I beg your pardon. The case is still dragging and is still in the court, and we are here to look at that particular case today. And of course, in subsequent edition, we'll be coming up with numerous cases that is pending at different levels in our judiciary and which remain unresolved. Barrister Ugochukwu P. Isiguzo have been my guest on the show from the beginning till this time, and we've done the first half of the program, and this is just the remaining part of the program. And I want to put it to you right now, and one of the questions that have been in the mouth of so many, and if what you think about this idea of, do you subscribe to the idea of establishing special courts for corruption cases in Nigeria? Do you think that will help these prosecuting agencies or anti-corruption agencies in the fight against corruption, or help them speeding up? Do you think that there's a need for special court for corruption trials?
A lot of people have been talking about it, but I don't buy that idea.
Why?
If the real issues I have talked about that cause delay in the judicial system are addressed,
yeah,
you don't need special courts. And it will interest you to know that, for example, a court like the FCT High Court, there are judges that are special corruption cases hearing courts. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
So if those judges are constituted, or some of those courts, let me be more formal. Some of those courts are constituted to hear some of these charges with respect to corruption. If you go to the FCT High Court and check the list of the judges as to their assignment, you will see what I'm saying. Some of them are judges or courts that are specific to hear EFCC charges. Okay. Some are specific to hear general criminal charges. Some are specific to even hear gender-based violence.
Okay.
So there are courts that are specific already, carved out within them to hear some of these matters. Once the issues within the judiciary are addressed, there will be no need for any special court. That is my own view.
Okay, the issues within the judiciary and as well the issues that you have raised around the prosecuting agencies
yes.
as well. If those issues as outlined by you are addressed, you don't think there is need for special court
Yes.
for corruption trials. Okay, so what can the judiciary do to reduce the number of pending cases in court? You have numerous cases adjourned here and there. And there's also this issue of awaiting trials in terms of discongesting the correctional facilities. We have discovered that many of the detainees, their cases they've not been tried. So what can the judiciary do to reduce the numbers of pending cases in court?
Okay, the first thing that should be done is for the judiciary to equip itself in terms of facilities. It's going to help them. There is a need to go electronic with a lot of facilities. It is not convenient for judges to be writing in longhand till this time. It is really stressful for them. Sometimes you need to see them. You need to see how stressful it is for a judge to sit down for 5 hours plus writing on longhand. Everything you say, the judge is recording it. It is high time the judiciary started thinking of going electronic.
Okay.
Virtually in everything.
Okay.
It will make the processes very, very speedy and very, very fast. We have been talking about electronic filing, and we are hoping that one day we will get to that point where you can stay in the comfort of your office, file a matter after paying the necessary fees.
Okay.
And there will be very little, and the court will be able to give a decision on them. It is high time for the courts to improve its facilities, especially electronically. It is sad and very inconveniencing to see a judge sitting down for more than 6-7 hours, 5-6-7 hours, writing in longhand. Everything you say, while this discussion has been going on, if we were before a judge, the judge will be writing it in longhand. And sometimes it is stressful for them. It is pitiable. It is not something that is really enjoyable. So the time has come when we'll be thinking of this. Some of these things. I went to the court of a judge at the FCT High Court, and the court has electronic facilities. It was interesting to see the judge sitting down comfortably, and the proceedings was going on. That was not like, yes, what did you say? No, whatever was being said was being recorded. Time was being saved and managed. And when it was necessary for the judge to interfere, the judge interfered. And of course, the judge's voice was also taken into the record. And at the end of the day, all that needs to be done is to transcribe that voice recording into paper. And you can easily produce them for record purposes. Instead of a situation where the judge has to write, then for you to produce into record purposes, you need to take the paper, go and read it, type it. When you're finished typing it, you take it back. My lord, please, is this thing correct? Can you please proofread it? This is a judge who does not only have the responsibility to read, to listen to evidence. This judge has a responsibility to do a lot of judicial work, including signing some documents for public use. This is a judge who is expected to give judgments and rulings. The same person is still expected to proofread record of proceedings. How easy will it be? And these are the things that are making this whole thing look so cumbersome. So it is high time the judicial system began to think of how to make the system more of electronic facilities. Let courts have computers, computer systems. Then there be people who can sit in those places, type, produce these documents. In some places, you have transcribers who are there.
Transcribe.
Transcribe. In some courts, you have cameras videoing the proceedings. And what the judge needs to do when it's time to evaluate evidence is to bring those records back. Listen to them. There is nothing to hide. If you are saying the truth, you are saying the truth. And it will show. So that is one. Number two, there is a need to begin to train some of these court staff to appreciate their roles. when you are sitting in public office in this judicial setting, you are playing a critical role in a chain of processes.
Absolutely.
If you refuse to play your role, you are take for example, a court has finished giving judgment on a matter. It's now time to enforce, but it will take you so much time to get the enforcement unit to do the enforcement. I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that's the way it is.
I understand.
Now, if the enforcement units do not do what they are supposed to do, you have somehow frustrated the judgment of the court.
Absolutely.
The judgment of the court is frustrated. So every person who is in the judicial setting, from the person who is doing assessment for purpose of filing, should understand that he's playing a critical role. If he does not assess the processes properly, according to law, he will end up making the judiciary to lose money, which at the end of the day will affect the capacity of the judiciary to deal with his own problems. So there is a need for this orientation to begin, because sometimes when you get to court to have some sort of interface with some of these court staff, some of them parade themselves or conduct themselves as if they are demigods.
Absolutely.
Without them,
some even feel more important than the judge himself.
Of course, although they are very, very important.
Yeah, everybody is important.
Of course,
yeah,
as far as you are in the chain.
It's supposed to be complementary roles.
Exactly. So they sometimes conduct themselves as if they are alpha and omega, and these things somehow frustrate the process and even frustrate this. There are practical cases I may not be able to rule out, but let me give you an example of a very interesting case I did. I was part of the team that prosecuted the matter that conducted the appeal at the Supreme Court. This is a 1983 matter that started at the High Court of Anambra State.
Okay.
And what was the issue? The issue was that the suit was reassigned to at least 3 judges before it got to the 4th one. And when the 4th one was to commence the trial, the senior lawyer could not. Why? Because the file was missing. Sorry, not the file, the exhibits.
Exhibit, okay.
To be tendered.
Evidence.
The exhibits to be tendered, which had been tendered before the 3 previous judges.
Okay.
Now was to be retendered before
the 4th judge.
Before the 4th judge
was not available.
And the court kept taking fresh dates until the court struck out the matter for want of diligent prosecution, and that was what took us to the Supreme Court since 1983. Why? Because exhibits that were put in the custody of somebody as a court staff was malhandled or misplaced. So these are the issues.
Okay. All right. I think that's a good place to anchor it for today's edition. And for the case in question, which is our focus today, the case of the former NSA, Sambo Dasuki, it's still ongoing. And if you stay with us on the subsequent edition of this show, we'll bring you an update as soon as the next hearing date is. We have the next hearing date, and we are going to keep our eye on the case and follow it up in court. And then we'll come back here, possibly maybe with my learned friend here, maybe with some other guest. But be rest assured that each case we pick on this show is a case we intend to follow to its logical conclusion, and to also follow it to the logical conclusion actually, and the decision of the court and the final decision, and see that case gets to its expected end, and that it is justice is served, and that is one of the biggest intention behind this show. I want to encourage you to stay with Third Eye Africa TV, home of investigative reporting, crime prevention, and of course community safety. And this is where we call it a date today on the show. Join me same time, same station. My name remains Charles Agedu, and I want to thank my learned friend Barrister Ugochukwu P. Isiguzo for finding time out of his busy schedule to join me on the program today. Barrister Isiguzo, I must thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and keep watching Third Eye Africa TV.